Now, what's this flash fill option?
This is another great trick you're going to like. Flash fill is actually a way for Excel to really be more intuitive. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's so intuitive, I'm afraid it's reading my mind. It's a little scary, but it's really looking for patterns. I told you Excel's really good at patterns. We're not going to use it this way off the drop down. I'm going to show you what I think is a much more effective way to use flash fill. So let's do this. We're going to go to another file that we have open. You'll notice that this data has a list of names and departments and just general information about people. When we enter this data, for example, the names, those have to be in two separate columns. You're not going to have last name and first name together most of the time because we want to be able to manipulate it. But every so often, you just need to put those back together, maybe for an address or something like that. So sometimes we need to split cells, sometimes we need to combine cells, and flash fill is a really great tool for this. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to click in K2, please. Over here in K2, we're just going to go to the next empty column. We're going to put the last name and first name together. And our first person is Jacqueline Davies. And I'll let you decide if you want to do last name, first name, or first name, last name. Just go ahead and type it in one way or the other.
Okay.
You typed it in exactly as you see it. So you can't nickname her Jackie or anything else like that here. So you typed in the first and the last name. Now, what's the next person in the list?
Ellie Fox.
And so you would just start typing that in. So type in the E for Ellie.
Wow, it automatically typed Ellie's name and everybody else's name below her. Wow.
I told you it's a little scary, isn't it? Excel's reading your mind. So if that's what you want, all you do is enter.
So easy. Wow, I like that.
So when you enter some data, Excel is looking through all the rest of the data and saying, I bet I know where you're headed with this. And so it's guessing what it is that you want to enter. You could swap it around. You could do the first name and then the last name. You can combine any of these columns that you see here. Let's say that I want to combine the department and part of the employee ID to create some sort of a code. So for the first person, Jacqueline, let's type in ENF and then space 01. Now, when it starts working with numbers, Excel will not automatically fill it in. So I will tell you that you could start typing in ENF, but it's not going to pick up the number sequence. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we call a trigger. We're going to tell it flash fill.
Okay.
And the way we do that is the keyboard shortcut. The keyboard shortcut is Control E as an echo.
Wow, it just copied and pasted all of the employee IDs in order.
Picked up those last two digits, it figured out what you wanted, and just put that right in there.
It also copied the heading, but not quite though. It says Department Employee ID instead of, forgot the E, but it's
exactly.
Okay.
So it's this little code to tell you that it's the full department and then part of the employee ID.
Okay.
So you will get some funny headings as you look at it. You only get the heading when you do Control E. You notice that the other one does not have a heading because we just let it flash fill automatically and it didn't put a heading up there.
Okay.
You can also use it to format cells. For example, we'll often get data that's imported that might come in all caps, and I need to put it in lowercase. And in previous versions, we had to use formulas to do that, but now we can just use flash fill. In this example, I'm just going to take the name and swap it to all caps maybe. So if we were to type in just the last name in all caps the way we want it, enter, and then what's the trigger here?
Control E.
Good. And you'll see that it puts in all the names now in all caps.
Nice.
Sometimes there are some errors you might get. Let me just show you one example. I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did because you know it works. We're going to put it in Davies in all caps. So we entered it, and then what are we going to do?
Control E.
Go ahead. And we did get an error.
What does this mean?
When we read it, it says we looked at the data next to your selection and didn't see a pattern. So there's two possible reasons. One, it couldn't find a pattern, but we know that's not it because it already worked a minute ago. So the problem is where it says we looked at all the data next to your selection. Do you notice that I skipped a column before I did it? And we talked earlier about the fact that blank columns mean my data ends here. Stop, no more data.
Yes.
So Excel's saying you don't have any data here next to this column. So just make sure you don't have any blank columns and you're fine.
So autofill and flash fill are great ways to streamline data.
It really is. The hardest part about them is remembering to use them.